everybody, this is Jenny. Sorry, I'm laughing. I started the video and realized I never put in my numbers or figured out how much weight I had lost, so I restarted it, and then there was a huge delay between my video and my audio. So I just shut it down and opened it back up, and I hope everything is okay for you now. It seems to be much better anyway, from what I can see, than what was going on before. Normally, I don't catch that kind of stuff because I don't really watch myself when I'm doing these videos. I should, but I don't. I'm always looking at different numbers and information on my computer screen. So I am doing the HCG diet. I've been doing it for 30 days. Today is day number 30. And if you're doing the HCG diet, follow along with me. Follow day by day and see if you can beat me. See if you can beat my numbers. If you have less weight to lose than I do, then your numbers probably won't be as high as mine are. If you have a lot more to lose than me, then your numbers are probably much better than mine. Um, that's just human nature and how this goes. Even though he says everybody can lose between a pound to a pound and a half every day on the diet, that I don't find that to be reality. And from watching other people's YouTube channels a few years ago when I got started, and from the research that I've read, the average is closer to about a half a pound a day weight loss. Um, and if you are strict and you really stick to this diet, you will find that you will lose more than a half a pound a day on this diet, and you will continue to lose every day, which is what he wants people to do, is continue to lose every day, not have days of plateaus and not have days of gain. Definitely no days of gain you're supposed to have, but he does talk about plateaus and how that could occur, and then I have previous videos on that if you're interested in that and you're reaching a plateau. Speaking of numbers and plateaus, yesterday was a plateau day for me. The day before I had lost 1.2 pounds. And then yesterday I got on the scale and it was the exact same number. I had gained and lost nothing. So that was a plateau. I will say, because I had a little bit of a cheat over the past weekend when I went out to eat with my daughter, my numbers have been a little bit more irregular. If we backtrack a little bit, let's go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Let's go back 6 days. Well, let's go back 7 days. Let's do a week. Okay, so a week ago I lost 0.2 one day. The next day I lost 1.5. Whoa, amazing. Because it didn't come off of like a gain from before. So I was excited. But then the next day I lost nothing. It was a plateau day. Zero. 0.0. Then I gained 1.2. That was after my day of going out to eat. The day after that, I had lost zero point 0.5. Then I lost 1.2, which made me happy because 1.2 is what I gained. So I figured, okay, now my net loss is really negative zero point 0.5. And then that brings us up to yesterday, where I didn't lose anything again. So I really felt like today I was going to lose again because I did okay. Eating yesterday, not great, but okay. And I got on the scale, and I will tell you, this may have been my biggest loss in the entire thing. I'm not sure, but I lost 1.6. I almost wanted to reweigh myself and put a different number in there because I just thought, oh, this is going to affect my numbers tomorrow. um, because it was so significant. But my goal on this plan is that first time I get on the scale, whatever that number says, as soon as I get up in the morning at that 5 o'clock hour, I get up at 5 o'clock, I go to the bathroom, I get on the scale. Always. So that number can change 10 minutes later as I'm getting ready and I'm brushing my teeth and spray my hair with a little bit of water if it's all frizzy and fuzzy before I teach my classes in the morning. And I think that water, and then if I put any lotions on, and that has weight. And so I try to keep everything as consistent as possible, and that first weight is the weight I go with, even if I feel like my scale is being generous to me or my scale is being stubborn and that's not accurate. Those are the numbers I use nonetheless. Okay, so what did I eat yesterday? I had a turkey taco. No cheese, no mozzarella cheese. I usually put a little mozzarella cheese on it. I didn't yesterday. Let me tell you that mozzarella cheese makes a big difference. I didn't enjoy it as much as I normally do without that mozzarella cheese. It really does. It started to taste more. I could taste more of the turkey as opposed to it being ground beef, which can't have ground beef on this diet. So I do the turkey taco, and normally it doesn't bother me at all that it's turkey taco. To me, it almost tastes the same because you got all the spices in there from the taco mix. yesterday I was kind of like, wow, that's amazing. I didn't realize how much that little eighth of a cup of mozzarella cheese made a difference in the overall flavors of and combination of flavors as well of this taco. So, no guac. Did have some corn on it. A little bit of corn, not very much at all. Um, I forgot to write this down. Let me write it down. I had some chicken pieces, about four. It's probably equivalent to like a half an ounce, three quarters of an ounce. I don't even think it's a full ounce. Maybe it's an ounce of chicken. And the pieces are literally about this big. They're just cut up chicken breasts that I cooked in a light bit of olive oil and then a bunch of spices. And it's basically just to get the spices to stick to it and to keep the chicken from sticking to my pan. So almost no olive oil in there in this when I cook. Probably about five chicken breasts at one time, all cut up. So I cut them up into smaller pieces about this size, and I ate about four of those maybe earlier. And then I did break down and have some of those nuts, the keto friendly coconut flavored nuts. So there's three nuts. I can't remember what they are. I know almonds one. I know pistachios one. I can't remember what the third nut is. But they're these three nuts and they're made with a coconut flavoring, and they kind of they're put together in like clusters, it ends up being like a crumble. So you can take out chunks of these nuts kind of stuck together by whatever this coconut. Now, coconut's very popular on this diet. It's acceptable, and many people use coconut oil because coconut oil is not supposed to affect your body like all the rest of the oils do. The only reason I don't use it a whole bunch is if you've ever cooked with coconut oil, guess what? Things taste a little bit like coconut. So if the foods you're eating aren't complemented by the flavor of coconut, it's not always the best one in terms of flavors. So I have coconut oil at home, and I know that coconut oil, it's something about the HCG chain and the way the chains break down in your body. There's a whole science behind it, but just know that if you have olive oil and if you have coconut oil is almost like having no oil because of the way it all breaks down in your body. So it's like the thumbs up best oil you can have on this diet because of science. And that's as deep as I'm going to get. So I'm on day 30 and I've lost 16.5 pounds and I need to get going. Okay, this is going to be a long day as it is, but let me go ahead and just mention this because I said I would. Yesterday I saw that video. Somebody made a comment on a video from a while ago about drops, and when I went to click respond, the video popped up and it starts playing automatically. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting ready to respond and I'm listening to some of what it said, and I looked at myself and I'm like, dang, I looked really good. My face looks so much fatter right now compared to what it did on this video. So I was kind of listening to about like where I was at the time. Now this is 2019, so it was 2 years ago. I was 2 years younger. But on the diet, I was on day 23 and I had lost 9 pounds, 9.9 actually at the time. On day 23 on this diet, I had lost 12.9 pounds. So I've lost 3 additional pounds this time than I did on that cycle. So initially, I was like on a high, thinking, I'm doing so much better this time than I was doing then. And then as I'm typing a response to somebody, I'm listening to the rest of the video, and I realized I did the math in my head. Although I didn't actually talk about scale numbers, I could figure it out because I knew what I was talking about, and it talked about how much I lost. And I said that I was at that time between 3 and 4 pounds away from my ultimate goal in reaching this new number category. And I was saying how exciting it is to reach different number categories. So like if you're at 180 pounds and you get into the 170s, it's exciting. Once you get into the 160s, it's exciting. Once you get into the 150s, it's exciting. Once you get, so like, and so on and so on. So just seeing that second number be a different number on the scale is just like, yes, because it takes a full 10 pounds to get there. So I realized when it said, oh, I started really high, I thought I started in the numbers that I'm in right now. No, that I was in. I actually started higher because I've lost over 20 pounds on this diet, but not on this diet. I dieted I lost about 5 pounds. And then I started HCG because it took me 2.5 months to lose those 5 pounds. So then I started HCG. So I'm at about, no, so I've only lost 16 right now. So I've lost 20 pounds. So I've lost 20 pounds on this diet. Okay. Sorry that was so confusing. You don't have to follow all that jibber jabber. The point is, once I figured out 4 pounds up and and I'd lost 9 and where I wanted to be and where I started in that, I realized that where I started on that HCG diet, and mind you, I only do HCG when I feel like I've gotten out of control and I really need to lose weight. Where I started is currently 6 pounds less than what I weigh right now. And then instantly my elation and excitement of, I'm doing so much better. I lost 12.9 pounds. I only lost 9.9 last time. I started at a point that's 4 pounds less than where I am right now, and then lost 9.9 pounds. Well, no wonder, because the numbers were smaller. I was smaller. It's harder to lose larger numbers when you are smaller. But that's not the part that depressed me as much as the fact that I, at that point, felt that my body was out of control and needed to get onto a diet. And that is at a point 4 pounds less than I am now, which would be 24 pounds for me. I was 24 pounds over the point that 2 years ago I thought, whoa, I've let myself go. I need to lose weight. Wow. That's sobering. But it's eye-opening, and it's why I guess I do these videos. One, also for my own self and accountability. And then also to be able to kind of just, I mean, a lot of it is to motivate you all that, like, listen, if you've let it go, if you've really gone to a new stratosphere of weight during COVID, you're not alone. I did too. But we're getting it together in 2021. 2021, all of 2020 is getting sloshed off our body. I don't think sloshed is the right word I was looking for, but nevertheless, it's coming off. It's going. It's going, and we're saying goodbye to it, and it's not coming back for the remainder of 2021. We are getting rid of it for good. I mean, as good as we can be. And I say that because I have issues with eating, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to read to you directly from Dr. Simeon's protocol first, because that's what that's what I do on this channel. I give you exactly what the protocol for HCG, the original one from the original doctor, and what it says. And he has a category on compulsive eating. And then we can talk about that a little bit, and then I did some of my own research as well. Here we go. It says compulsive eating. No end of injustice is done to obese patients by accusing them of compulsive eating, which is a form of divergent sex gratification. I mean, let me just say, there's a lot of Freudian stuff in this protocol. We're talking about the 60s, all right? So some of it I take with a grain of salt. I'll continue to go on. Most obese patients do not suffer from compulsive eating. They suffer from genuine hunger, real, gnawing, torturing hunger, which has nothing whatsoever to do with compulsive eating. Even their sudden desire for sweets is merely the result of the experience that sweets, pastries, and alcohol will most rapidly of all foods allay the pangs of hunger. This has nothing to do with divergent instincts. On the other hand, compulsive eating does occur in some obese patients, particularly in girls in their late teens and early 20s. Compulsive eating differs fundamentally from the obese patient's greater need for food. It comes on in attacks and is never associated with real hunger, a fact which is readily admitted by the patients. They often feel a feral desire to stuff. 2 pounds of chocolates may be devoured in a few minutes. Cold, greasy food from the refrigerator, stale bread, leftovers on a stacked plate, almost anything edible is crammed down with terrifying speed and ferocity. I have occasionally been able to watch such an attack without the patient's knowledge, and it is frightening. Oh, sorry. It is a frightening, ugly spectacle to behold, even if one does realize that mechanisms entirely beyond the patient's control are at work. A careful inquiry into what may have brought on such an attack almost invariably reveals that it is preceded by a strong unresolved sex stimulation, the higher centers of the brain having blocked a primitive diosympathetic instinct gratification. The pressure is then let off through another primal channel, which is oral gratification. In my experience, the only thing that will cure this condition is uninhibited sex, a therapeutic procedure which is hardly ever feasible. For if it were, the patient would have adopted it without professional prompting, nor would this in any way correct the associated obesity. It would only raise new and often greater problems as a therapeutic measure. Patients suffering from real compulsive eating are comparatively rare. In my practice, they constitute 1 to 2%. Treating them for obesity is a heartening job. They do perfectly well between attacks, but a single bout occurring while under treatment may annul several weeks of therapy. Little wonder that such patients become discouraged. In these cases, I have found that psychotherapy may make the patient fully understand the mechanism, but it does nothing to stop it. Perhaps society's growing sexual permissiveness will make compulsive eating even rarer. Sorry, Dr. Simeons, that didn't work. Whether a patient is really suffering from compulsive eating is not hard to decide before treatment because many obese patients think that their desire for food, to them unmotivated, is due to compulsive eating, while all the time it is merely a greater need for food. The only way to find out is to treat such patients. Those that suffer from real compulsive eating continue to have such attacks, while those who are not compulsive eaters never get an attack during treatment. Okay. By his definition, I am not a compulsive eater because I am able to do HCG without going through the bouts of stuffing my face at different times and just eating mindlessly and just eating because I want to. Also, some of the definitions that don't apply. When I'm on a bout of eating and I can't stop, it's because I enjoy the taste of that particular food so much. I don't just eat anything. I mean, there are times that I just want to eat, so I'll find the thing that I like the most, but I just won't eat anything just because it's there. Stale bread and something left over that's gross tasting, I'm not just going to eat. 2 pounds of chocolates, I think I could put down. I really do. So I just wanted to read to you directly from the protocol. This is what he says about compulsive eaters. Because it's a little funky, I decided to also do a little bit of my own research. And in 2015 came upon an article that talks about what compulsive eating is. And I like this. Let me read this. Compulsive eating is a psychological illness characterized by the sufferer frequently eating excessive amounts of food, sometimes even when they are not hungry. Okay, I can relate to that. I don't eat when I'm hungry. I eat because I just want to eat. Most of the overeating does not take the form of binges, but the sufferer may pick at food or graze throughout the day. Totally true. Every time I walk through the kitchen, I graze and grab a little something. Oh, I'm just going to take one cracker. Oh, I'm just going to take this. You add that all together, 30-pound weight gain. Compulsive overeating is not the same as a binge eating disorder, although both involve consuming large amounts and quantities of food. The psychological aspects of compulsive overeating make it stand apart from the binge eating disorder. Sufferers of compulsive overeating may feel relief or joy after eating. It fills a void inside of them, which then corresponds with Dr. Simeon's need for sex, but I think for other people it could be the death of somebody in their family, it could be just a loneliness in their life, there's a lot of things that it can feel, lack of love. Okay. Sufferers of binge eating disorder feel guilt, disgust, and depression after binging, similar to people who suffer from bulimia. A sufferer of compulsive overeating tends to obsess and think about food far more than a sufferer of a binge eating disorder. They may plan their day around what, when, and where they are going to eat. Really like how they separate and they explain these. By these definitions, I don't relate to compulsive eating. Although I do kind of think of food throughout the day, it does not drive me. It does not, I'm not compulsively thinking about what can I eat, what can I eat, what can I eat. I am thinking about what I need to do, what I need to handle, what I have to do for my jobs, like I can go many, many hours and stay busy and be okay not eating because in general, I don't eat when I'm hungry. I just eat when it's convenient because I want to eat, because I like to eat. So if I can really keep myself very busy, I can be fine. I find myself eating the least. Like if I go to an amusement park and people are like, I gained so much weight when I went to Disney, I like lose 5 pounds because you're walking all day and you're active and you're moving around and you're doing things, and I'm not thinking about food. The only time I think about food is when I think about, oh, the people around me who I have to feed. And then sometimes I'll get them something to eat and get myself something small because I just don't have a huge desire. Um, so in that regard, but I do relate to the binge eating disorder. Also, when I eat and eat and eat and eat, I don't feel joy and elation afterwards. I don't. I do during it, but I don't afterwards. So that very much makes me relate to binge eating as opposed to compulsive eating myself personally. One more small short section here. According to the Eating Disorders Sourcebook, approximately 1 in 5 women report that they have a binging relationship with food. The Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness estimates that 1 to 4% of the United States population suffers from a binge eating disorder, and men make up 40% of those numbers, women being 60%. They also report that the onset of binge eating disorder usually occurs during the late adolescence or early 20s. However, it should be noted that binge eating disorder can affect anybody regardless of age, gender, or ethnicity. All right. I did find one mother article in the medical news today that talked a little bit about this as well. And the main thing it talked about is the fact that the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, I think is what it stands for. But then there's disorders in there. Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Disorders. Anyway, it's the Bible for medical professionals on every disease and disorder that there is and their definitions. It's like this thick. It's a big book. It's on the 5th revision now. That's why it's the DSM-5. The DSM used to be the original, then it was DSM-2, 3, 4, and now we're on 5. Does not mention compulsive eating as a diagnostic clinical diagnosis. And it says partly because they can't find the triggering effect. Like for people who are addicted to cigarettes, they can find the triggering effect of nicotine, and they can't find that with food, and that's partly because we have to continue to eat food to survive. But it does also say that many clinical professionals will still use the term, even though it officially isn't in there. And you wouldn't be able to use the term for insurance purposes because the insurance only reimburses based on medical diagnoses that are in the DSM-5. But they will use it. It also goes on to say that in a recent study, they found that 10% of people with normal weight range or overweight had food addictions. So they said that food addictions are not limited to people who are overweight, that there are food addictions that occur also in people of normal weight. They still overeat or eat, incorrectly, but their bodies are just, they're touched by God and they don't gain the weight. And it said that 35% of adults in the United States have obesity. About one third. I actually thought that number was kind of low. I thought there were more people who were obese than 35%. But then I guess I'm also categorizing. I'm thinking overweight because I technically am not in the obese category right now, but I think of myself as obese because of the way I look when my shirt is off and I see the rolls in the mirror, and because of the way my clothes are fitting, I feel like I am slightly overweight in my everyday clothes, that I'm overweight. Not even slightly, that I'm overweight in my everyday clothes. My everyday clothes do not fit me right now. I am wearing t-shirts and stretchy pants because I'm refusing to buy clothes until I lose. All right. So that's everything I have about compulsive overeating and binge eating and what Dr. Simeon says about it. I found it all kind of interesting. I hope you did too. And maybe you can relate to it too. I guess what's the takeaway in all of this? I guess the takeaway in all of it is that the one thing I did learn is that it's compulsive overeating is a behavioral response, and it's not a predetermined genetic. You're not genetically predisposed necessarily to it, according to this research. Or I shouldn't say genetically predisposed. I would say you are genetically predisposed, but you don't have genes or issues going on inside that are diagnosable, that are statistically, scientifically proven that you have this particular disorder. It tends to be a disorder that's a behavior and that comes from psychological issues. Um, and yeah, I know I can relate to that. It's a behavior. You overeat. Why do you overeat? And when you do you overeat by eating absolutely everything in sight? I used to work as a speech therapist, and at Easter Seal program that I used to work for, there were some kids that had pica. Pica is an actual diagnosis of somebody that just eats, they can't stop eating. They will even eat glue and paper and cotton balls, and like they just need to eat. So when he talks about, I mean, it is sad. It is sad to see that all refrigerators and things all have to be locked up in that, because that is compulsive eating. And I've never felt like I've even come close to branching into that stratosphere. So I am aware that there are some clinical diagnoses. Pica is in DSM-5, where people truly have issues with overeating and just that need to put things in their mouth. And these are young kids. It has nothing to do with a lack of sexual gratification. It's just something that they're born with. But then again, it's at a clinical level. When it comes to you and I and our everyday weight, it's we can stop. I heard somebody say once, and I'll leave you with this. I've always said, oh, I just wish I had somebody in my house walking along with me, preventing me from eating certain things, because like I don't have accountability for myself. This is where I feel like I'm a compulsive eater, because like I just justify why I deserve that, why I've had a bad day and deserve it, why I've had a good day and deserve it, why I've lost a bunch of weight so I deserve it, why I've gained so much at this point, what's one more thing so I deserve it. Like all of those things in my brain are there, and I can tap into any single one of them to justify what I'm doing at any given time. Well, I can't help it. It was free. It was, don't waste free food. That's how I was raised. My grandmother was from the Depression era, and that trickled down to my mom and actually came down to me. And it was like, eat everything on your plate. Kids are starving in Africa and China. Um, I totally got distracted. What was I starting to say? Oh, what I was going to leave you with. So I've always said I can't, I just can't stop eating. And when there's potato chips in front of me or a warm chocolate chip cookie, I can't not eat it. And then I heard a lady named Joyce Meyer, who actually is like a Christian preacher, and she was talking about weight loss and being accountable and controlling yourself and, fruits of the spirit, and, and having self-control is one of those and all that. And, I hear this kind of stuff and I just go, oh, okay. But then she said one thing that I'll never forget. And she said, do you think that you are somebody who can't stop eating? Who can't not take something if you see it in front of you? Who might be compulsive in your eating styles? And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And she said, okay, if somebody came into your house and they put a gun to your head and you had a plate of warm chocolate chip cookies right there and somebody's standing there with a gun and they said, don't eat it, would you eat it? No, you can control yourself. And that spoke volumes to me. All of a sudden, it made me realize, shoot, I can control myself. I can. I just have to decide to do it. And then it is doable. So I use that analogy in that picture a lot. And every time I think I have to have something, I try to go back to that phrase to help me in it. Even on HCG, the times that I want to eat something that I know I'm not supposed to eat. Now, do I think of that analogy all the time? No. How many days have I said that I have cheated or sneaked a little something or fell off protocol throughout this diet? Many, many, many times. But overall, it has kept me from ballooning up an additional 30 pounds over where I was. I had 35 to 40 pounds to lose. I don't have 60 to 75 pounds to lose. And that is because that image does come up every now and then, and it helps me go, no, stop. You don't have to eat that. You don't need to eat that. You're okay. All right. So that's all I have for today. Got a little deep there at the end. I don't know how long this has been, but I should get going. I do have a class starting in 15 minutes. I had 2 classes back to back that were open, so that's why this is so long. But we covered a lot today. I hope it's beneficial for you. Stay on your diet. I'll see you tomorrow, and let's hope we have some lower numbers. Wouldn't that be great? Especially if you are somebody who lost a lot like I did this time, 1.6. Is it possible to lose again the next day? I don't know, but we'll see. I'm gonna hope for it. All right, take care. See ya. Like and subscribe and leave a comment. I love hearing all your comments. Thank you for everyone who leaves them. It makes me happy and lets me know that the people who are watching are actually interested in what I have to say. Again, if there's something you want me to talk about, let me know and I'll do that too. Take care. Bye.